It might be. Yeah, man, we back at it. Episode 211. We're talking some anti-work. It's not what you think it is. We're talking some Yair Holloway. What else we talking, John?
How dare you put Yair's name first? How dare you? I mean, look, Yair's a beast, but give Max his respect. It's already bad enough that Dana and the UFC disrespected the man by putting him on a free ESPN Plus card that started at like 8 in the morning or whenever the hell that fight started.
It was a terrible time.
Yeah,
100% a terrible time. Yeah, dude, it was pathetic. I don't listen. We got a lot to talk about. We got some. We're probably gonna curse on this one, if I'm being honest, because I just got questions about a plethora of different.
Plethora. There you go with your favorite word again.
Audacity is my favorite word, but that's what we'll go with for now. But yeah, man, for right now, this is the intro. Check it out from House Beats. Yo, what are you doing right now?
The big V. Look, man.
All right, man. Let's just jump right into this shit.
I made my wife wake up and drive me there anyway. Is it major?
Pues algo eso. Pues algo en español.
¿Qué pasó, papá? ¿Cómo estás?
Any questions?
Now, when you bought that sweater, right? You just go, fuck it. I'm going full Mr. Rogers. You've tuned into the Man Chatter podcast. Hey man, you know what it is? Our catch up is always slightly and most likely bourbon infused. So what's new with you, my brother?
Well, I'm sipping on some of this larceny. They got. I told you, hey, look.
This ice, bro.
This is the second week in a row that I put that, the sphere of ice in there.
It makes me so mad, dude. Like
it's already. You see how clear it is already? It's already watered down.
Yeah, it's so.
Hey, no, don't get it twisted. It was already at that level actually before I dropped the ice. All right.
Yeah. Right. Sure.
Wheated bourbon. I like this larceny small batch. Delicious. I could drink this shit like Coke. I could just down it. I'm not going to because we got a show to do. But
yeah, that's not a good way. I'm sipping on some Clyde May 6 year.
Please elaborate.
Same one from last time. I got this from Total Wine, man. Not many places have this bourbon. It's 102 proof, non-chilled. I'm reading the thing on it.
I bet you.
100% non-chill filtered. This is from barrel number. I like the detail on the label. Barrel number 358. It was bottled 11/2 of 1920. That was the bottle date. It was barreled 9/23 of 2014. So it's almost 7 years old. Yeah, man, it's a solid straight bourbon whiskey. I like it, man. It's definitely one that you could start sipping on right away, but it catches up to you very quickly because the 100 proof is no joke. It's not a game out here in these. It's not a joke out here in these streets, especially when you haven't eaten anything in about 7 hours. So it's just dealing with some stress and shit. But yeah,
what kind of stress are we talking about?
I mean, we'll get into that in a couple segments in a second. I don't want to jump ahead. I want to stay within the brackets of conversation. So, what have you been doing this weekend, bro? I know we've been talking, but I know we watched the Yair fight. That's how I'm going to call it, right? Yeah. The Yair Holloway fight, but we'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I did not do at the beginning of the weekend, which was Friday. I was looking, and this was on your suggestion. Actually, not your suggestion, because I had looked at this before you mentioned it, but the U.S. And Mexico game that took place in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is probably the most American place for any soccer to take place. It's got to be the 100%. Best home field advantage, right, for the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that tells you
like Oklahoma, right? Like Oklahoma would.
But Ohio's like the the whole Midwestern vibe, like that's
And they got an MLS team, yeah.
Columbus, right? The Columbus Crew.
So FC Cincinnati, they got their own personal team.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, bro.
See, that tells you how much. That tells you how much I care about MLS and American soccer in general. But 100%. I was thinking about it, and I was going back and forth, and I just, for the quality of the soccer, I didn't want to go. I knew what it was going to be, or what the U.S. has shown itself to be on the big stage.
Yep.
And so I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going. And then you sent me that message on WhatsApp, and so I reconsidered. So I started looking at the ticket prices, and Yeah.
Yeah, quickly.
That decision was made for me as soon as I saw the ticket prices. It was starting
Yeah,
at $325
yeah,
per ticket, and they were selling them in like I guess bundles, like 2 tickets, 3, 4 tickets at a time. So it's
yeah.
$325 per ticket for 2 people, and that was the cheapest one. And it's
Yep.
like up in those bleeds. I mean, but for soccer, it's kind of different. Like it doesn't, you can enjoy the game from that far anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't
Um,
matter.
but yeah, man, 325. That would have, and then it was for Javi and I. That would have been $700 because there's always like ticket fees and taxes, and it would have been a 3.5 hour drive, which I don't really mind that much.
Yeah,
Cincinnati's
you
not,
drive all the time.
yeah, but I wasn't about to spend $700
You
to
would have to
watch
get
the
a
U.S.
hotel too, right?
No,
Unless
I
you're
would
gonna
have.
like
It
drive.
was Friday night, man. The game would have ended what? The game ended at 11.
Yeah.
Because there's no 11 o'clock. I would have driven back. We would have been home at 2 in the morning, but I'm not staying in Cincinnati.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no. So not only did I not get tickets, I didn't watch the game. I was kind of
Yeah.
monitoring the game, and you're like,
Right.
"Yo, are you watching the game?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, dude, I'm not watching the game." They were like at minute 65 or something, and it was still 0-0.
So
Which
Alyssa
I was
came
like,
in.
I'm glad I didn't drop that $700.
Yeah.
And I think I was watching Hannah, the series
Yes,
on
on
Prime,
Prime. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and then I moved on to Mel and I watched Red Notice, the new movie with
I haven't
Dwayne
seen
The
it yet,
Rock
so
Johnson.
don't tell me anything. I haven't seen it yet. I was told not to. My wife is out of town, right?
Uh-huh.
So I was told not to watch it. I can't watch that or Shang-Chi because I wasn't able to come home Friday,
Mhm.
and then Saturday she left. So I've just been like scrolling through YouTube and trying to find
Uh-huh.
like random stuff to watch. Which
Of course.
today is fine because I got Yellowstone, which I know you haven't seen yet, and Succession, which is another show that's the mother shit. I love,
Succession I should watch. Yeah, for
dude. You
sure.
should what
Yellowstone, I don't know if I'm going to.
you should what look. I'll tell you like this. They're very similar, right? In different ways though. Like they're both. It's like I don't want to like. I'm not gonna ruin it. It's like different versions of white privilege, right? Like, but it's
Yeah.
it's a very interesting and entertaining way because the characters are so good. Like Succession, there's no good people, right?
Yeah, they're all horrible people.
They're
What
all
you would
horrible
imagine
people.
billionaires would be.
Yeah, exactly. Just they don't. There's no empathy. They're sociopaths. They don't
Mhm.
care about anybody. Like the way they like it, just the way you imagine them to be is 100% how that show is. But Yellowstone does have good people, but those good people often do bad things, right? Like they're not what
Mhm.
you would consider good by law, but they're good
Right.
in the show and in the character. You know what I'm saying? Like the clearly
Okay.
you're doing some illegal shit, right? Like you're killing people, but you're doing it for a good reason. Like though that doesn't justify it, but
Mhm.
it's such a good show, dude. It's just they're
Okay.
both really good shows. So Sunday's a good day for me. Yeah, I
I'll
haven't seen
keep
last
that in
week's.
mind.
You should definitely watch Succession though. Highly that
So
show. Go ahead.
yeah, I'll watch that for sure. Just like I got to get back to watching Billions,
Jean-Claude
which
Van-
was an awesome show.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I went out to watch Red Notice, and
Right.
I happened to check, like a few minutes into the movie. I was like, let me see what the score is, and 2-0 US won. I'm like, where did I wasn't expecting a 2-0 win from 65, almost 70 minutes into the game. I saw that it was still 0-0. And I think Pulisic scored in like what, the 72nd or 74th minute, something like that.
70. That was like the 72nd, and then McKinney scored in like the 84th or 86th minute. So Dos a 0 again because they've
Dos
done
a
Dos
cero.
a 0, Dos
Right.
a 0 again, and they did it to Mexico and Columbus years ago, which were like what made it famous, and then
Right.
Dos a 0 again, but now in FC Cincinnati's I think home stadium.
Yeah, man,
But dude,
Ohio
like
is home field advantage. I mean, anywhere in America, but I think Ohio has got to be the place where they love to play the most. I mean, Ohio is a big soccer state in the U.S. So
yeah, no, FC Cincinnati's like from what I've seen like on like clips and stuff, like their fans are crazy. So shout out to them. US soccer did some I guess you can call it questionable stuff, you know what I mean, to make sure that the stands and the fans were more skewed American, which makes sense because too many times have there been games where on US soil where it's US Mexico and it's not a US home game, like it's 80-20. You know what I mean? Where it's like little section that they're like almost like going.
Don't play in there. Don't play in California.
Well, they played in like Vegas. They played in Vegas.
Close enough.
Close enough, right? Like they play in all these different places. That were like, oh, dude, what are you doing? Like I remember one year they played in like Jersey, which had like a 70% of the population of Costa Ricans live in Jersey. And they played like Costa Rica, so they lost to Costa Rica because it was like a Costa Rica. There was more Costa Ricans in Jersey than there are in Costa Rica.
But and it makes sense why they want to do that, right? To attract that crowd from the other team. And I guess you're just not expecting that it's going to be overwhelmingly on the other team side, right?
But dude, I'll tell you, look, I watched soccer to the level that it's still football, right? Like I watched like the World Cup
Super League.
Yeah, I can't believe
Saturday morning.
That. I was watching World Cup qualifiers today. It was like there was 2 games on at the same time, so I was like flipping back and forth. Yeah, Portugal, Serbia, and you had Spain, Sweden. Right, two really good matches, right? So I'm flipping back and forth. Portugal ends up losing at the death, basically. So now they got to go into the playoffs to even make it into the World Cup.
Right.
And so Serbia's in, Spain's in, and I think Sweden goes into the playoffs. Not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and you watch that level, and I was like, oh my god, like what are we gonna do here? Right. You know what I mean? Like after watching the like one of the most dominant performances by the U.S., right? Because it wasn't that second half. Mexico didn't even look like they belonged on the pitch, bro. It was so weird. Like it wasn't. They didn't. I don't think they had a shot on goal in that whole second half. Like maybe like after they got desperate, but it was never anything of threat. It was weird, man. Like the U.S. just took the game over, and this is the best they've played all like hexagonal long. Period.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I sent you a clip to a Spotify podcast with Grant Wall and Landon Donovan and another guy who's like in Meadowlark, part of the Dan Le Batard show. Can't remember his name. Chris Whittingham.
Whitty.
Yeah, Whitty. And so they were talking about how that first half Mexico had like 1 or 2 of like the most dangerous chances, but that even
nasty through balls.
But even though they had those like the most dangerous ones, it seemed like the U.S. was controlling the pace of the game and that they were playing their game. And then in the second half is when they continued that and they broke it open. And like you said, it seemed like Mexico didn't belong on that stage.
It was weird, dude. Look, I watched every game of the hexagonal, right? Like I've almost not missed a minute. Yeah, I think and they keep the thing that their worst performance was Panama, right? They played the worst possible players and when they have better players at that position, right? And when they play the European-based Americans, it's a totally different game, right? Like if you sprinkle in the MLS players, like Ricardo Pepi, the center forward that's 18, that's probably going to go to Bayern Munich and learn under one of the greatest strikers of all time, and
Lewandowski,
that has like a similar frame, gonna be a baller. Like he has to leave FC Dallas, right? But when they play those players and their European-based players are also young, they're a totally different team, right? Like you got Yunus Musa, that's a baller for Valencia, Weston McKennie, that's at Juventus starting and a difference maker. It's probably gonna go to Tottenham though. You have Christian Pulisic, you know what I mean? Which there's rumors now on Twitter that he might be going to Barcelona in January.
Really?
Right? Yeah. Like there's a chance. I don't know why he would do that. Like I guess they need a left winger.
I mean, I know why you would say that because you're like Real's there. Where are you going?
No. You can't. No. First of all, you should not go to Real Madrid because you love Christian Pulisic, but you're not starting over Vinicius at that left wing.
Vinicius is a monster. Vinicius. Remember what I about a year ago this time? What I said was Vinicius. You were all over Vinicius. I was like, he's inconsistent. And and
he
over the last year and a half, because that's what I knew him as. He's like he's got this ceiling that's incredible, but he never really lived up to it consistently. And has he lived up to that billing? Right, it's changed, and he's grown into that player that everyone expected him to be.
Yeah, like I was watching. It's funny that you say that. Right, getting into this conversation, like last night. Like wife's not home, so I'm able to watch all the like random YouTube shit. And like there was like this breakdown because YouTube has everything you want to learn about. Like they had a breakdown on like they did like what's changed with Vinicius. Like it went to like he changed his diet. He got a personal trainer that was a trainer at like Bologna or Juventus or some Italian club that's not his personal trainer. Like during the pandemic, he made sure to not go crazy and got like a nutritionist and cooked for him and the whole shit. Like just completely rededicated himself to the game. Now his biggest problem was finishing. Like he'd be way past everybody, but he'd somehow sky it, and he's not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
But back to Pulisic. Like they're saying, there's rumors, right, that he might go to Barcelona, which makes a little bit of sense. Like I don't know exactly who their left winger is, like because Ansu Fati is their striker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you could possibly play there, and you got Serginho Dest, so they would have a relationship, and it'd be an easy transition.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we'll see. Like when you play the European-based players, it's different, right? Like you got Timothy Weah that plays in the French league, but so back to what I was saying, right? Like I watched every game, and every game there's always an opening at the back post, right? Like when let's say you're crossing from the right wing or left wing, that back post to the other side is always open, but nobody ever makes that run, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm watching the game, and I'm at a hotel, so I'm talking to my team.
We're talking about men's soccer, though. U.S. men's soccer. No one makes that
U.S.
run, right?
Yeah,
For whatever
U.S.
reason.
men's. Yeah, for whatever reason, they never make that back post run. And there's our wingers and our like left and right backs aren't the most accurate of passers, right? So they'll overhit it like so should always be somebody at that back post, and that's what run Pulisic made. And I said that like in the third minute, because they had a bunch of crosses that didn't land, it just went too far, and I was like, yo man, somebody's gonna make a back post run, and that's how Pulisic got it, because nobody make a back post run for 75 minutes or whatever it was.
Right.
And Pulisic makes it. Literally nobody marked him. Right. Like the guy like reacted late, but he was like a foot away from the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper had no chance when Tim Weah made that cross. So they're a different team, but just like the fact that there's no diversity in their runs right into the box. It's always everybody goes to the spot. You know what I mean? So it's like it's very easy to defend when everybody going to the paint basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody hits that 15-foot jumper. Everybody goes, oh, let's just dunk. So when he made that run, and that was the difference. And then McKinney was just like off a dribble, bounced off a guy, and then he was open, and then he put it in the bottom left corner.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it seems to me, and this, like I've always said that the reason why the U.S. struggles is because we don't have a feeder system, right?
Yes.
I my gripes with AYSO and pay to play, that whole pay to play system that we have in the U.S. I'm not going to rehash that. But
yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah. But the, so, and I don't know how many different coaches they've had, but sometimes they try to play with a specific tactic, but no creativity.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And it's so structured that it's predictable and boring. And there's a reason why in Brazil they call it the beautiful game, right? Like you have skills and you have tactics and strategy, but you have to use that creativity. We have athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Use that athleticism to create plays, and you can't do that by, like you said, just everyone going to the paint, everyone going to the box.
Yep.
You have to give the keeper, you have to give the defense something to think about.
Yeah, something different a couple times. Like we talk about it all the time, right? Like sometimes you have to get a couple offsides calls.
Mm-hmm.
So like draw that back line.
You have to, right? I mean? And you hear that in every game, whether it's like I say that, you hear announcers say that, like, oh, that's like the third time he's been caught offsides, but you see that back line now, they're alert.
Moves a little bit further back than that midfield's a little bit more spread out. Like all that is tactics.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they don't, and when they play, like I was stressed for that game because I thought that Triple G Greg Berhalter was gonna start Sebastian Lletget, solid player in MLS, kind of, you know what I mean? But we shit a lot on MLS, right? But there's a clear difference in class and level between that and the leagues we're used to watching all our lives.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's all it is. And if you play in the MLS, cool. I have no problem with that. Like I don't think Weston McKinney, like there's been Tyler Adams, which is a great center defender, CDM. Like he played in MLS, but he went to Europe, right? Like you have to play with higher level players, no matter the league, to become better. When you're the best one on that team, you're not going to develop into one of the greats of all. You know what I mean? That we need. So if you're an MLS lifer, to me, there's a reason why you're an MLS lifer, right? The level of competition that you've had is always going to be a level below, right? Like when you're Weston McKinney that plays at Juventus or Schalke, you've played against the Bayern Munichs, you've played with Ronaldo, you know what I mean? Like you've played with the Pjanićs. You played like a ton. You could mention a ton of players that you know what I mean. People will recognize. You can't mention 10 players in the MLS and be like, oh yeah, that guy's a baller. You know what I mean?
And you know what's crazy? It's that look. We do talk a lot of smack about the MLS, but it's not just Europe. I mean, we left. There's leagues in Chile,
Yes.
Argentina,
Yes.
Brazil. I mean, yeah, there's the MX, the Mexican League as well. And I've never been a fan of Mexican soccer, right?
Me neither.
Just I don't know. I'm not saying it's not good. They've been competitive. They've had success at
They killed
progressing
MLS
through rounds in some World Cups, but I've never been a fan of how they play the game. But they've had some talented players through the years. But yeah, I mean, so all these other leagues that have been around well before the MLS. I mean, there's competitive players there. There's competition there. And I mean, some players don't play in those leagues because maybe it's not because they can't cut it. It's maybe they do get better money in the MLS, right? There's also that. But yeah, if you're an MLS lifer, nothing against you, but that level of competition, like your game is either your game maybe won't progress, and that's fine. You know, certain people have certain athletic abilities, but for the U.S. game to move forward, I think either our league has to improve, or we have to have more players playing abroad, whether that's in South America and Europe. And you know, like I told you, you laughed. I was watching Turkish Super League, but still, I mean, when you play in the top flight teams, sure, that the Turkish Super League is top heavy with a couple teams. Yeah,
is that where like yeah. See, like I even and again, like I don't, but I know Fibonacci, right? Like there's teams like you, like for example, you didn't know 3 hours away there's another soccer team.
No, I thought it was just the one from an hour and a half, Columbus. I didn't know Cincinnati had a team, but I don't
exactly. Dude. Look, but my whole thing was like, cool. You can playing in the MLS, nothing wrong with you. You're still a professional athlete, still succeeded at a high level more than most people have.
Yeah,
not knocking that at all. But when there's players that have played against better competition, you shouldn't just get that because the coach likes you, right?
Right.
Like Sebastian Lletget isn't the reason we lost to Panama, right? But he looked terrible on our worst performance, right? Paul Arriola, like, and I'm not saying anything new. Like, you can watch anybody on YouTube that's like the analyst for the team. Paul Arriola's biggest, highest level of effectiveness is like making runs without the ball, right? Like that's what, like, he's just gonna run fast. That's it. Like he's gonna run, but he doesn't. He's not gonna finish with the ball. He's gonna be terrible at crossing.
That has its use. Like we talked about athleticism and creativity, and he may not finish, but you got to give some. If he can do that, and we can attempt some through balls, some crosses, something to give the defense.
But he doesn't though. That's the thing. Like that's his only attribute is fast. Can't knock him, and that might work for him. But on this stage, when we've already failed to get to the World Cup, look, I might have a different outlook on it if we made it to the last World Cup and we're good, right? Like, oh, let's do. He can make it. He can give us some depth or whatever. You don't look at it that bad. But like once you've seen failure, like I've seen failure like constantly, especially with like the Hurricanes and all these teams that I'm riding with. It's like I'm exhausted by it. Like I don't want to see that consistently when there's Timothy Weah, the son of a former Ballon d'Or winner, George Weah, that's better and played against better competition and started at PSG and now starts at Lille. Like what? Like there's a better player there. Why are you giving him that spot?
Hey, this is how passionate or dispassionate we are about U.S. men's soccer. That the question was, hey, what did you do this weekend? And we talked for 21 minutes about men's soccer and our disappointment or our surprise of how they played this past weekend.
Yep.
Because that wasn't the only thing, right? That wasn't the only thing we got into, right? There was a fight that we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
You know, I'll say Veterans Day was an early weekend, even though Friday I worked. It was an early start to the weekend, and
that's weird, right? It should be like a 4-day. It should be like Thursday, Friday.
In the military, it is. Like,
yeah, it should be.
Yeah. In the military, it is, but hey, that's fine. All the free meals, they were giving out all the free meals,
all of them. Yeah. I didn't take advantage of one of them, which I definitely should have.
I never do, except for this past one.
Yeah, I did it, dude. I did it once years ago. I want to say like I was still like in the National Guard, at like because I was finishing out my time, and I remember I went with my boy that was with me, my boy Jay, and we went to Chili's, and you have like you know how they give you like the veterans menu where it's like an appetizer, the 3 meals, and then like a dessert or whatever. Like you don't get like the actual meal.
Yeah.
So we went there, dude, and we like because it was free. We're like, yo, let's just get everything, bro.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to go out that night, and I was like, yo, I can't do shit else after this. Like, hey, we're gonna have to call this, bro. Yeah. I'm gonna have to unbutton my pants. Like, this is a bad idea. Like, just because it was free, like gorge ourselves because we went in there hungry. We had like done a bunch of shit the whole day. It was wild. But look, before we jump into this next topic, real quick, what did you think of Red Notice? Like one on a scale of 1 to 5.
I give it a 27.8.
Oh, that like that?
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. No, man. Look, here's what 27.8. Look, first of all, if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's in the movie, even though he doesn't like to be called The Rock, it's gonna have a 20 out of 5 stars automatically.
Okay, all right.
But because I know he's your favorite, I know how you feel about The Rock, so
I'm a big fan of The Rock. Just wish he did better movies. Walking Tall, I want to watch Walking Tall again. I saw
look, man, it was what you'd expect.
Your voice got really high there,
bro.
It
was yeah.
What the hell was that, JB?
It was when you don't want to give your
like your honest opinion, like
your honest opinion. Let's change the topic. No, it was entertaining. I mean, it's a movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It's
Ryan Reynolds.
And Ryan Reynolds. I mean, it's funny. It was a good on-screen chemistry.
Exactly what you expected it to be.
Yeah, it was a funny movie. I thought it was, whatever these action comedy movies are like, it's a movie to watch on a Friday night, and I'm the one. Remember, I don't judge movies harshly. Okay, I'm the one that roped us into going to watch Wild Wild West back in like 1999.
Yeah,
and we sat through the whole movie. And we're like, no, we paid for these.
Like in my mind, I swear to God, I tell that story so different.
Yeah, we walked out.
We left.
No, we did not leave.
Yeah, no. We watched that whole movie. Yeah.
In your mind, because you checked out. 10 minutes into the movie.
Checked out, bro.
So yeah, in your mind, you definitely did. You were somewhere else. We were in the theater.
In my mind, we were in the Ford Probe, headed back to the apartments.
Oh, the Ford Probe.
We were done, bro. Like in my mind, that happened. I swear to God. No. Anytime I talk about a movie that was, what's the worst movie you've ever seen? I was like, yo, we walked out of. Like, we walked out of Wild Wild West.
I mean, you checked out. Yeah, you definitely did. But physically, we were there.
Oh my God, dude. That's so terrible. I don't know how. That's crazy how that works. Right? Like have a totally different memory of an event that somebody else was there. Like, yo, I remember that totally differently.
Hey, someone is gaslighting somebody because where's the truth?
One of us
either we walked out or we stayed for the movie. Which one was it?
Dude, I swear to God, I have it in my mind that like we were the only ones in the theater and like we were in the back row and jumped over the seats.
We were in the back for sure.
Yeah,
and there weren't many people there.
One of us is wrong here, John. Because I remember that.
No, you're correct about that. There weren't many people there. We were in the back. I don't remember who else was with us. Was Chris and maybe someone else? I don't know. But we watched that whole damn movie. And
that's so crazy, bro.
And if we didn't, it's because I went back and saw it on my own at some other time.
I think we might have seen it because I never saw it again. Like, if you're telling me we saw that whole movie, why would you? What? I think you did see it twice though. I think you might have gone back to see with like Marlon and his sister. That could have been totally.
But I know I've seen that movie like on Netflix or wherever it came out at some point. In the last few years.
Never seen that movie again. Never hit.
Very realistic.
Ever again. Ever again, dude. I remember.
But listen. So, I don't judge movies harshly, and it reminds me of an episode of Black AF or #Black AF, which that show came out a couple years ago on Netflix by what's the dude's name? Kenya Barris, the creator of Blackish. And it's hilarious because it's supposed to be a story of him and his family, right?
Yeah, the spoof of it. Yeah,
the spoof of it, and it's hilarious. And in one of the episodes, he's talking about how, hey, I got called in to do a panel for a black movie, black director. He's like, I saw it, and this ain't it. What am I supposed to say? And so, he's like, he's looking at reviews and talking to people, and like all the people he's talking to, the white people he's talking to, they're like, oh, this is great. This movie is
was it like a black director based on like a black character. Like it was one of those.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just
where
like a
white people
black
are
movie.
like, "Oh, this is the greatest movie." Like that whole
Right, right.
triggering thing. Yeah.
And then
Well,
so he's like he's like, what is it? Is it because white people are just like lying to us because of the times that we find ourselves in, and so they don't want to tell me the truth because this is garbage. This is not it. I can't go out, And so he, people. He's like, critics are saying one thing. He's like, but critics are lying. Like I've watched the movie. Have you not watched the movie? Tell me it's garbage. And so that's the entire episode. Him like talking about how terrible this movie is, and people telling him how, or some people telling him how, hey, we got to support black projects, right?
Yeah.
Just because, like, even if it's bad, you got to support it because bad movies got to get made too. I mean, look at how many. Look, if this is the first bad black movie you've seen, how many terrible white made, whatever movies have you seen? They're all out there. All the B movies are out there.
100%.
So
they're all on Hallmark right now.
So I say all that to say this. I'm not saying that Red Notice is that.
You definitely did though. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's entertaining, but it's not. Like I can't tell you. Like if that movie, if I went to Rotten Tomatoes, maybe I should do that right now to see what it got.
A 7. What if it got a 7 on Rotten Tomatoes?
Because if I would have seen it and it got like a 7, I would -8 tomatoes. I would be watching it.
Yeah, no, because it's one of those who's like, oh, it's so bad, I gotta see it.
Yeah, like I don't put a lot of stock into what critics say.
Me neither.
Obviously, because I went to watch Wild Wild West.
100%.
And then I saw that other project with him and his son where they're like in space or something.
After Earth? You saw After Earth?
I sure did.
He wrote a book about that movie. You know that, right? Like there was excerpts of like how because of that movie was Will Smith, like that movie was so bad, that Jaden Smith wanted to be what is it when like when disowned the parents?
It was Jaden Smith's fault, man. Look, Will Smith brought his son on. Like, look, I'm gonna try to let you ride on these coattails, son. And you
was
just
it
couldn't
true?
do it.
Mel told me that movie was directed by Jada Pinkett Smith. Is that true?
I don't know. Maybe.
I have no idea. Apparently,
she has Will doing whatever the hell she wants. She's like, hey, look, watch me bang this dude out right in front of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't believe they like made that public, bro. Like, how do you do a podcast and then like, yeah, we're gonna air how I was banging out other dudes, but somehow it's gonna be your fault. I'm gonna have to Google this and see.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
That's so wild. That's wild, bro.
Hey, 38% on Rotten Tomatoes.
38% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Hey, by the way, but then in audience,
wait.
the audience score 93%. So the audience is enjoying it. They know what you're going to watch a Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, Gal Gadot movie. Like they're enjoying it. 93%. And so the reason why I don't put a lot of stock into critics is because like you have, and so it wasn't a bad movie. It was entertaining. I don't know why it's getting a 38%. But this movie aside, any other movie, critics to me are the least creative people in the world.
Yep.
Like you have people out there putting themselves out there, whether they're comics, whether they're actors, directors, writers. And then you are going to go out there and say, well, I don't have any talent, but I'm going to go and talk about how crappy their work is. That's why I put no stock into it. If I watch the movie and it's a dud, it's like, hey, I made the choice, whatever. But I'm not going to listen to this dude that's never tried something in their life and their entire job is to shoot everything down.
Yeah, old school critics are terrible. By the way, I want to put a on-spot correction. M. Night Shyamalan directed After Earth, bro.
He had a rough run, by the way, after like Sixth Sense. He had a couple
was it The Cabin in the Woods? Was it or something like that?
I don't know if it was that one.
Whichever one.
Was Lady in the Water or something. That
Lady in the Water. That was weird. I didn't watch.
All his movies are strange. So I mean,
there was one like The Cabin or whatever it was. Where whatever, we're getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
So Red Notice. People are gonna like it because it's The Rock, right? He's one of the most marketable actors probably ever, right? Like he might not be the greatest actor out there.
It's a treasure hunt movie. It's what it is. So like if you liked National Treasure and if you kind of like Jumanji, which is like similar treasure hunting kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's treasure. Yeah.
Then yeah, you're gonna like it.
I mean, that's kind of The Rock's forte, right? Like he did like Journey to the Center of the Earth was a treasure hunt movie.
Yeah.
All that type of stuff. All right, so I'll check it out. I still have to watch Shang-Chi, so I got a couple other things to watch. All right, man, let's get into this next topic.
Yeah.
I thought this was interesting. We spent 35 minutes in our intro and somehow got sidetracked into the Rock movie. All right, man. Anti-work. This was an article that you sent me. This is things that we've talked about previously, but this is an article from Business Insider that we read. And we can get into like the particulars if you want to screen share it and all that stuff. I'm with you. But I think the part that I found the most shocking was the fact that the person that they interviewed, thing about his name was like Larry. He was 52.
Yep.
I think like I think
I thought it was gonna be like a Generation Z
yeah.
or millennial. Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be like a 22-year-old kid who's like, nah, I'm not gonna do that.
Yep.
It was like this guy was like 52 years old, was part of the workforce for over 30 years, and he's like, I'm tired of this shit, dude. Like, what the fuck is happening, man? Like, what? How? Like, I guess because I'm very secluded in my life, right? Like,
yeah,
I have a job that I really don't belong at one specific place. I jump to different places. I live in a place where it's very small, right? Very small town. So I'm very much to myself. So sometimes I think like, oh man, the things I'm thinking, other people can't be thinking, right? Because it's like I'm not in those networks or in that space. So when like in the article, and they said like, look, the top runners got $2.1 trillion extra, and now they're about to get this extra money, and now we're sitting here not knowing exactly what's what. Oh look, my mom was on. Hey, mama. So good vibes.
Yeah. I mean, and that was during the pandemic, right? Where billionaires, we're talking about billionaires added $2.1 trillion to their wealth.
Yes.
While everyone else, had lost their jobs, had to start collecting unemployment. I know since you read the article, they mentioned they talk about how businesses are going under because people aren't coming back to work. And so some business owners are putting signs up that say, please bear with us as we don't have any, we're short staffed. But then they go a step farther and they say, and they put in these notes on the windows or on, all over their business saying, well, people don't want to work anymore. They'd rather be out collecting these unemployment benefits. And I think where the article or not the article, but where those notes from the business owners fall short is where they should have put a little bit more, like saying people want to stay home collecting these great unemployment benefits instead of coming to work for a wage where you can't live on. Maybe if you paid people a livable wage, that would take away from your bottom line. But people are realizing that. And look, it's a little bit of a give and take because some jobs there's going to be a certain skill set that's required. You're not going to pay someone $20 an hour for some certain things, and so that's understandable. So if everyone's expecting $20 an hour for a menial task that could possibly be automated or something, that's a tough ask. But to pay people minimum wage when they're out there working 40-hour weeks for you, coming in, covering for other people, essentially. And we're talking about I'm talking about major corporations, but even like small and medium-sized businesses, like, by the way, small and medium-sized businesses, usually, if they can, compensate their people better than these bigger corporations. We're talking about the people at the lower end because they run your business for you. Like,
they need to invest in the employees because that's the business.
Right. That's the business. If you have like 2 or 3 locations and 1 or 2 people don't show up, that could be everything for you. That would be you like restricting hours or not being able to provide certain services to your customers, shutting down a location temporarily. Like that's huge. And so these small business owners usually are more understanding. So, but the fact that that people are putting up those signs, complaining about their employees not coming back to work. Well, also they realize that they're getting paid more.
Yep.
And they can survive off of this while they go do something else, learn a new skill, find better paying jobs.
Yeah, like the lady in the article was like, I'm just gonna do woodworking and I'll do some Uber Eats and you know what I mean? Because like, what was it? Like she had a doctor's appointment needed to take her car in for services.
Yep.
And her boss was like, you come into work, you're fired. Like, so I'm so like, that's the part that like, again, like the part that blew my mind the most was the 52-year-old at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But all those things is like, again, it's one of those where I go back to what I said, because I live so secluded from everything, right? Like you think you're the only one going through it, right? So when you see that they fight, like when the article talked about how they would lay off employees and just give the next employee more responsibility. Not with any more compensation, not with any. I was like, hey, Brenda isn't showing up to work today, or we had to let Brenda go. Now you, Brian, have to take on Brenda's responsibility
without additional pay.
Without additional pay. And you're already asking for a raise is already intimidating and scary enough, because you're like, man, I know I'm worth more, but if I ask that, am I gonna like put myself there? They already let Brenda go, so let me just put my head down and do all of Brenda's work too.
Yeah, because I got bills to pay.
Yeah, like it's.
But you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that, because I get Quora, the question site where people go on Quora and they ask whatever questions.
QUORA, right?
Yeah. And so one of the questions or emails that I got today was someone posted, I let an employee go because we felt he was redundant, or I didn't need him, and now we have a project where I definitely need him. How do I get him back?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's those kinds of decisions. How do you get them back? I mean, so like that person that takes the additional work, especially in the times that we find ourselves in now, where employers are having a difficult time hiring because people aren't coming back. Yeah, you have some leverage as an employee saying, well, yeah, you should feel comfortable asking for a raise.
Yeah,
Brenda left for a reason. If you're gonna give me this extra duty, I deserve a raise. Hell, you're not asking to double your salary so that you can have Brenda's salary added onto yours. But I think that now that Brenda's gone and I'm going to be doing her work, you can afford to give me a raise and still save some money, because you're still not paying two full-time employees.
Right, but I don't like. I don't think businesses look at it that way, right? Like, I think like, why would I mean, I'm paying you this now. Why would I give you any? You know what I mean? Like, why would I give you any more? And Brenda's not here, and I don't have to spend that $50,000 a year. Like, I'm not gonna give you another 10 so you can make, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like, they're not looking at it. Let's just say, like, they're not looking at it like, oh, I should definitely invest in this employee that I trusted to take over Brenda's work. They're looking at it like, Brenda's gone, I'm gonna make that extra. I'm gonna pocket that 60,000.
No, I know that's how they're looking at it, but I'm just saying, you as the employee have that more in these times, have more leverage because of how difficult it is to find employees, or people aren't coming back as fast as in previous times. You have that leverage to ask for that raise. Yeah, and you can say exactly that. It's like, hey, you could have me. I'm making 50. Brenda's gone. So, I'd like I'd like to be making 60, 62, 65, whatever. It's like, it's either, you don't have to make it into like a confrontation, but like the employer is going to find himself saying, well, if I don't give him the raise, then I'm talking about in our times right now, if I don't give them the raise, then it's either I pay one person 65 or I'm out two people, and now I'm not paying anyone. I'm saving $100K, but I don't have people to do the work that needs to be done.
But that's the thing, right? Because then they just like Brian, like, the examples are given like, oh, Brian and Brenda left. All right, Jacob, you're up, bud. Like, oh, you're taking on that responsibility. You got to take over. Oh, Brenda did finances and Brian did logistics. Guess what, bud? And we're gonna need you to figure out some Excel stuff. Like, I don't think I'll have to be very careful with how I say things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that they look at it that way, right? Because
absolutely don't. You're right.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's why like this whole thing, it's always weird to me. Like, we talk about it all the time. Like, it's always weird when they bring up, when people I know or social media bring up like, oh, we just got lazy people. I was like, businesses are gonna make their money hand over fist to screw you over 100% of the time. The one time that I'm like, yo, man, I'm worth this, I'm the asshole. Like, oh, how, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, how, like, was it the jobs just came out? The jobs report just came out for September or October, and there was like 4.4 million people left their jobs. You think they left because they wanted to? It's because they kept getting shitted on and shitted on and shitted on, and they've had enough, man. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're tired of doing Brenda, Brian, Brenda, Jacobs, Tim's, Tyler's job. Yeah. While when all those people got laid off because all you wanted to do was make more money. That's all. That's all it came down to. But at the expense of my mental health and my livelihood, I have to keep giving you what you want. And when I take my worth for myself, then I'm the dickhead. Then I'm the one that gets the note. You know, me as the employees. right? I'm the one that gets the note on a window. Oh, that nobody wants to come back to work. Why don't they want to come back to work, bro?
Probably because you're
Ask
putting
for-
those notes up on the window.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that you're paying them nothing and not giving them any kind of health, any kind of benefits. Don't you could work because look, not everybody's meant to be have a high earning job, right? Sometimes you need the cogs on the wheel. Let's keep it 100, right?
Yeah.
But you can't pay those cogs on the wheel pennies and then then tax them on those pennies and then get mad when they're like, "Yo, man, can we get some crumbs too?"
Hey,
Like,
you know what? Because without those cogs, the wheel goes nowhere. You still need to pay people.
Exactly.
There are different echelons. I get it. Like and maybe those entry level or lower paying jobs are the ones that are seeing the most. People leaving or not coming back because the unemployment benefits are matching or exceeding what they were making before in their minimum wage or just above minimum wage jobs,
Yep.
and so that's why they're not coming back. Because I can understand if like you have a skill where you're making 80, 90, 150, whatever, grand a year, where like those positions have no trouble being filled because people aren't leaving those positions unless they're like just in a really stressful corporate environment.
Or a toxic environment,
but those because unemployment benefits are not going to replace a $90,000 or $120,000 salary. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
But other people that are below those thresholds, the unemployment benefits kind of gives them a bit of a break. They're saying, you know what, I'm not going back to work. They treated me like crap. They didn't pay me enough. These benefits are more than enough, more than what I was making. So they're gonna cover me until hopefully people are learning a new skill or looking for jobs elsewhere where in a company that maybe values them more. I've seen it. You've seen, like, I saw was it Chipotle like saying within 3 years you'd be making $100,000 a year, offering all sorts of incentives to bring people back.
That's what you got to do, man.
Yeah, but you have to pay people. You make less, your shareholders make less, but you know what your shareholders are still doing? They're still making money.
Yeah. Like that 1% less, which is why you got to watch Succession. That 1% less for the shareholders might mean something, but those shareholders are going to be real mad when in about 5 years there's no employees to make money off of.
Exactly.
Right, like that, because you're thinking about this 1% in this one quarter. There's 0.5% of that 0.25% in this quarter. Hey man, real quickly, in a year, 2, 3, that company might be dead. Many companies thought they can get away with.
I've seen franchises close down here around because they couldn't bring people in, and they closed. Mom and pop businesses as well.
The McDonald's near me doesn't open in the lobby. Like, you could only do drive-through because employees just quit to that level. Chick-fil-A is the only one that's jumping because they offer they have a great business model, right? Like, they offer their employees, you know what I mean? Like,
they don't like the gays. That's not the business model. I'm sorry.
No, man, their hatred is one thing. Like all right. Look, they 100% have their issues. They still have incredible chicken sandwiches.
They have great chicken, man. They have great chicken.
I call it the Lord's chicken personally. That's just what it is.
The Lord's chicken. They have great chicken. I think they pay employees like tuition. And that's not new. That's not a pandemic.
That's who they've always
incentive. That's always right. That's something they've always instituted. Right. Yeah.
And they're obviously they're very much so a don't ask, don't tell employer, but I've seen plenty of LGBTQ, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen of employees there. Right. Not saying that it happens all the time, but they're not that biased in that way.
Also, probably the nicest employees I've ever been around. Like
100%, dude.
I mean, maybe that's part of their, like, obviously their culture. Like, hey, look, if you get any complaints, there is no 3 strike rule. It's like 1 and you're done.
There's a high level.
Yeah, everyone's. It's not like there can't be a Chick-fil-A in Miami. There can't be any Chick-fil-A's in Miami because everyone in Miami is disgruntled. Everyone. Yeah. Everyone has an attitude. Everyone's an alpha. Yeah. And so I don't think there ever was a Chick-fil-A in Miami. The first one I saw was somewhere in West Palm Beach, at least when I was growing up.
I think there might be one now. I remember Danny telling me he goes to one, so there might be one now. But it has to be the worst service possible.
Probably, for sure.
It has to be the worst service. I will tell you, I was in Georgia 2 years ago when we went up to Helen, and it was probably like an awkward experience because I was the only brown person in there. And like the checkout lady didn't talk to me. She talked to my wife. It was one of those things where, like, I'm ordering and then she's looking at my wife. Like, okay. I was like, hey, you notice that? Like, it's things that, like, So it was weird because it's Chick-fil-A. I'm not used to that. Yeah. I mean, like, I expected that somewhere else. Like, I mean, Chick-fil-A is supposed to be like the greatest, you know what I mean? great customer service is what y'all do. But
You didn't call her out. You weren't like, "Excuse me, miss, I'm over here."
dude, honestly, dude, like when blatant racism happens like that, it's so shocking
Yeah,
that like you want to think about you're gonna do something in that moment, but then you're like, I'm in Georgia. This is a small town. I'm also brown. You know what I mean? I'm brown.
Yeah.
Like there's a very good chance that I'm gonna get the disturbing the peace conversation. So I literally play all that out in my head.
I
Like
know.
anytime I've ever had a confrontation,
It's unfortunate that still has to be a thought process.
100%, 100%. And Jonathan, for me, that's the thought process 100% of the time.
I know.
Like when I'm working, when I'm doing anything, it's like, hey man, you're big and brown. Calm down. Like that's literally what at the time was. Oh, just got disrespected and you just got talked down to. Remember though, you're big and like your reaction is gonna be more intense than the energy.
Yeah,
you just got. So,
if a third party shows up and they know nothing about the situation, they're gonna look at you and
yes, 100%.
the other individual, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, it's this brown dude, this big brown
This
dude."
brown dude, yeah.
Like, how am I even gonna talk to him? Does he even speak English?
Exactly, and that goes back to
Yeah.
That we could also tie that back into like the anti-work stuff, right? Like where that I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels that way, right? So if you have Carolina, right, or whatever that works at your company, you know what I mean? That's a brown skin because it is different.
Right.
You know what I mean? The one skin over another, right? Like that person is also not gonna say like, oh man, but like I got all these people relying on me. You take more, right? Like you take on more stress and unnecessary shit. Like we've seen it, right? Like you see it. I'm sure you see it all the time. Like you know it. You at some point have seen like, hey man, like we're giving this person a lot of responsibility, and probably wouldn't be handling it that way if we knew that they had to be a certain kind of way. So people are just employees are just tired of taking endless amounts of shit, and with the fact that unemployment is even competitive with a free market is bullshit up on a whole nother level. Like you should not make more money on unemployment than you do if you're working 40 hours a week. Right?
And
like
that was
let's just put that shit to bed.
Way,
can we just put that shit to bed?
For sure. And look, all these Republicans or conservatives that talk about, hey, capitalism is the answer, right? The market will sort itself out. Well, then you should not be complaining about people collecting unemployment because and not going back to work because the market's going to sort itself out, right? The market's going to, and how is the market going to sort itself out? Either companies are going to go broke or they're going to pay their employees more. That's the market sorting itself out. But it sort of took the government or this crazy thing that's been going on for the last almost 2 years now, and the government instituting these unemployment benefits and extended ones. And I mean, and even then they only go for a certain period of time. But it took these unemployment benefits that I've never seen before. And like, I mean, I collected unemployment when I left the army back in 2015. Between then and the time that I started my new position. Right. So I didn't feel ashamed, by the way. Like I was actively looking for work, actively trying to do things on the side, and that's money that you put in that you're entitled to. So I collected unemployment, but it wasn't like some of the unemployment benefits that we have now. And I wouldn't have complained if I had a little bit more money back then. But it's taken that. It's taken us like again going into more debt, paying people
almost an apocalypse.
These unemployment
almost an apocalypse.
An apocalypse, printing money out of thin air. And
the rapture,
it might take that to make these companies, these billionaires realize maybe we need to pay people a little more. Maybe we need to treat them with a little bit more dignity and respect, regardless of whatever job they do. Because at the end of the day, if we have that job, it's because we need someone to do it. So maybe we need to pay them well, compensate them, and treat them like human beings.
Look, I'm a pessimist. I don't think they've learned anything because in that time when people are leaving the workforce, they're making more money. Yeah. Right. Like the top, like the big people, the ones who, when we have 3 corporations left, they've made more money in this pandemic than they have ever before.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so they're not going to learn anything at all. So they're until it actually reaches their pockets. And who knows when that's going to be, because the stock market, the illusion that it is ridiculously at all-time high, which is what Elon Musk makes hundreds of billions of dollars in a day. What we're not talking anything, right? Like that article, it's not going to reach many people. People are going to be like, oh, they're just lazy. No, bro, this is a shift in the power movement.
Yeah, I mean, to put a bow on it, right? It's not anti-work is not people being against working.
Right.
It's not that. It's being anti the status quo, the way that corporations treat people, what from pay to benefits to just like you said, someone leaves and the way that they treat you, you're expected to pick up the slack
Yep.
without giving you any kind of additional financial
No.
incentives.
And
Because at the end of the day, it's the bottom line. It's that $2.1 trillion that billionaires have added to their pockets during this pandemic.
100%. I just dropped it, caught it. Cool. Look at that. Quick, fast muscle movement.
I don't know what that was, but okay.
I dropped it. I dropped my screen. Yeah, that's what happened there. But look, yeah, to wrap it up, to put that second bow on it. Yeah, man, look, it is. I'm a person who believes it is what it is, right? Like I don't think much is gonna change, right? Like this is like these people making these decisions. To me, I'm gonna be honest, it's crazy, right? Because something we've never seen before that it's kind of mind blowing, right? When something is so new, but then again, like seeing that other people are also fed up with their work situations and all this stuff, and they're making that leap of, yo, man, I'm just done. Like you get to the point where, and it might not be unemployment, right? Because I don't think you get unemployment if you leave your current job, but like it's just like, look,
yeah, whatever you don't resign. Make them fire you, because you know what? Being fired now in these times, it's not,
you make more money.
But not just that. What I'm saying is like it's not that bad of a, like everyone's getting fired. I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people are getting fired because of like the situation we find ourselves in, because of the economic impact it's had on companies. Some people can't keep certain people on, but don't resign. Don't be, if your boss is like, hey, we may need you to resign because we can't keep you on. We can't afford to pay for your position. Whatever, fine. Fire me, dude. But I'm not resigning. You're going to have to fire me, pay me an incentives package, or let me go collect my unemployment, but I'm not resigning.
It's crazy, right? Like
that's slick. That's such a slick move that people try to pull on their employees. They screw you while you're working there, and then they try to screw you on the way out again.
On the way out. It's crazy, right? When all the layoffs happened early last year and through this madness, right? There was no article where like, hey man, why didn't the companies prepare for this? You know what I mean? Like why like so now when the employees are like, yo man, I'm done. Now it's the employees are lazy.
Right.
I was like, what about when the bit? Don't you pay people hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to just have some in case shit money?
Right.
Like, isn't that your whole business plan? Like, oh no, but again, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but
hey,
it's all bullshit. Look,
have 6 months to 12 months salary saved up in case you lose your job, right? Where's that mentality for corporations that can't?
Exactly.
No, they with no shame turn around and go to the government and say, I need to be bailed out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with no shame, and they get it right away.
But you and I can't do that, because then we're bums and we're trying to live off of the government, and we don't want to pull our weight.
Exactly. We're on the government's tit. All that
Just
shit.
saying. All right. I think that's enough of that.
All right, let's go. Let's go with our final topic of the day, because we've gone long on a couple of these. Let's go Holloway Rodriguez, man. Because that second one we could talk about on Wednesday when we do this again.
Yeah.
Yo,
Holloway Rodriguez.
I hate love it, but hate it. Had no idea. First of all, why I hate it. I had no idea this fight card was even happening. Had no idea. Had zero clue that Max Holloway, former featherweight champion, was even fighting on Saturday.
I didn't tell you that. I mean, I knew because I watched the previous UFC, but I always kind of track what's going on, because there's always some kind of fight night between the pay-per-views.
Yeah, there's a fight night next week again, I think.
Yeah, I think
there's a fight night every but dude, like in the middle of the day, first of all, I prefer it at the end of the night, because then I've already watched football. Like I had to go back. I was watching that more than I watched the Miami FSU game. I want to spend zero real quick. This is gonna be Miami recap. Miami fire everybody. I've been dealing with this I've been dealing with everybody for about 18 years. I've been dealing with this mediocrity. I know next guy might be the same. I get it, because I've seen it for 18 years through 6 head coaches, but I'm exhausted by it. So this is why I started watching the Holloway fight, because the Miami FSU game was at the same time as this fight. Mm-hmm. Like I literally tuned away from it. My childhood, I was like, "No, man, I'm all good. I'm gonna go watch this war between Max Holloway and Yair Rodriguez."
Yeah,
crazy. I had it 3-2.
Hey, by the way, I had it 3-2 Max. It could have gone 4-1 Max. Yair won that first round hands down. Yeah. Not that, and it wasn't like he destroyed Max. It's just he put in more work. Max was trying to feel him out, because Yair is unpredictable.
Yeah.
Or at least he's been known for really like unorthodox stuff. That second round could have gone either way, but you give it to Yair. Rounds 3 and 4 were Max. I thought
Max.
easy. Round
Yeah.
5, they both were going at it, but I gave the edge to Max.
Yeah.
Yair, like I said, after like right into around the third round, I think it was the third round, it looked like Yair was kind of just tired. He was throwing
Yep.
a lot of volume in those
Everything.
first couple rounds.
Everything. Yeah.
Everything he threw was with viciousness, with a lot of intent, and that takes something out of you.
Yeah.
Every punch, every kick.
And he hasn't fought in 2 years.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I remember talking to you about Yair about a year ago. Like, man, I want to watch this dude Yair fight, but I haven't seen him fight in a while.
He had fights that just fell apart.
And you were like, "Who's that? Who's Yair?"
I never said that.
I was like, "Who's Yair? What?" I was like, "This dude is a beast. You gotta watch him fight."
Lie.
And then on Saturday, you were just like, "Oh yeah, I mean, like he's a beast, like against the Korean Zombie." I'm like, "What do you mean against the Korean Zombie?" Like when I talked to you about Yair a year ago, you were like, "Who's Yair Rodriguez? Who is this guy?"
Never said this at
all. I know for sure you were just like,
nope, you lying son of a bitch. Cursed all the way through.
You must have like gone. You must have watched like a couple of Yair fights before this UFC fight came out. You must have like gone on YouTube and just like or on the ESPN Plus app and just looked all his older fights before this fight, so you could have something to say about Yair.
You lying son of a bitch. Dude, I remember watching that Yair Korean Zombie fight. Was the craziest fight, and then he hit him with like that up elbow in the last, that last second. I think the fight he had before that, because he hadn't fought. That fight he had before that, because he takes breaks between fights.
Yeah.
I think he had before that was the Frankie Edgar fight. When Frankie Edgar took him down and just destroyed his eye for like 2 rounds. And then before that, like he had that weird fight against Bruce Leroy.
That one I don't remember.
Yeah, when they were it was like Fight Night. I think they were back on Fox then. That's how long ago it was. Like they were just doing like wild kicks. It was just really weird. But he's had some crazy performances. So like going off those performances, I think so highly of Max, right? I think Max is the best 145er on the planet. Like I think he's like I know he's lost to Volkanovski twice. I just don't you know what I mean? Like I just like Max more, is what I'm going to say.
Listen, you and I think a lot of people thought Max won that second fight.
I thought Max won the first fight. Like, I think it was debatable. You know what I mean?
Like, I have to go watch that first fight now again.
Like, it was a very similar
I thought
fight.
that Volko really controlled that first fight. I thought that. So I have to go back and watch it. You know, I've been watching a lot of UFC lately that I could have confused it with another fight. But I thought that Volkanovski, like, definitely won that fight. But the second one I thought went to Max. But yeah, I just got to go back and watch. I think he's the best in the division. I think he's the best in the division. You saw what he did to Ortega. I mean, destroyed him. The other fight night, was it even Fight Night or was it like on ABC or some craziness? It was Cater fight.
It was a fight. Yeah, the Cater fight destroyed Cater. 650 strikes.
Ridiculous.
Which is why I was so afraid for Yair. Right?
Yeah,
because Yair's a great kickboxer.
And here's where I know that you don't know about Yair. This is why I go back to saying when I asked you about Yair a year ago, you're like, who is that? Because I get that you were afraid, but I'm like, you can't be that afraid. Yair is a beast. If you've seen this dude fight,
but I think
he's at a different level than Calvin Kattar.
I think
he is.
Look, the same reason why. Look, I'm a big Brian Ortega fan, right? When
I didn't think that was going to happen to him. You're right.
You see what I'm saying? Like when you watch how Brian Ortega took Frankie Edgar's body out, like soul out of his body with that uppercut, right? When you watch that, you're like, oh, okay. And then you see him against Max Holloway destroy him. Like, Yair's a monster, bro. Yair will beat both our asses with one switch kick, no questions asked. But Max Holloway is just, I think, a tier above, right? Like, and I think he's a tier above everybody. I think he's the best 145er ever, unquestionably for me. Like, above everybody. Right? Yes, I put it over Jose Aldo that one time, that one Conor McGregor punch. Max Holloway is the GOAT 145.
Yeah, I think so.
So I didn't know, and I didn't think Yair had that in him. Right? Like it was 3-2, maybe 4-1, right? Because Max Holloway's chin is unrecognizably amazing. Like he was getting hit, bro. Like it wasn't like he was just standing there. Yeah. He was getting hit. I didn't know. I didn't think that would happen. So I have a lot more respect for Yair, but Max is still a cut above everybody else. But man, if Max ever, he's not gonna get it now because he's older now. But dude, if Max ever had that one knock, that one KO power, oh my god,
Yeah.
oh, it's
But Max won't. Max isn't going to. He's 29, man, and they mentioned that. I didn't know he's had that was his 29th fight, and he's 29 years old.
yeah.
So Max, his career might not be as long as some other guys. Like, I mean, it's been long already. He's been in the UFC for quite a while.
Yep.
But I'm talking about like as far as age goes, like 29, but he might be. I'm not saying his skills are eroding because they are, but I've mentioned this to you before, where when he speaks, and I try not to judge. Like after
it's scary.
After a fight, it's scary. He's slurring his words. If it's just like a regular interview, it's fine. He speaks normal, but obviously, so I try not to judge him after a fight because it's scary. But he not only does he dish out punishment, he's taken a lot of punishment.
Yes.
And there's only so much you can do. It's like Usman when he's fought Covington twice, and he's like, hey, there's only so many of those wars that I want to get into.
True.
To have career longevity, to be able to enjoy my kids and my life after the UFC. He's like, I loved it. I love fighting him, but there's only so many of those that I have in me and that I even want to get into if I want to enjoy my life. And Max has had a ton of those. I mean, that Yair fight was no joke. He gave punishment, but he took some punishment in order to give it, and he's been doing that for a long time.
That
old 29, and like at some point that chin is gonna give, right? It happened to Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson's like 38 years old, so I mean, Max, it might happen to Max when he's 31, like where he gets hit and he's gonna feel it, and he's gonna get dropped, and then he's not gonna be the same because that stuff is cumulative. It just adds up over time.
Like what? That's what I was like. It worries me with Max, right? Because like you said, it just takes that one time. It takes that one time that he gets caught, because your chin can't be that ridiculous for your whole career, right? It's why fighters have and should have short careers. Like, I don't like seeing Frankie Edgar still fight. You know what I mean? Like,
he took that kick from Cheeto Vera.
Yeah, for the way he took that kick from Cheeto Vera, I thought he should have been done when he got knocked out 3 years ago by Brian Ortega. You know what I mean? Like, look, that Brian Ortega fight, Brian Ortega got whooped, but Max Holloway took hits in that one too. It just, there's a power level difference.
Right.
Brian Ortega doesn't have that power level, right? There's a power level difference and a like a hand hardness difference. Yeah. Because there's some punches that Max got caught with that 95% of UFC fighters get knocked out of. And but that power still, that your brain still rattled.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You might not have got shut off, but your brain still got rattled. So it worries me, man. Like, especially when you see his young son. He's 29, dude. Like, how functional is he going to be at 40? You know, like that's
the part that we've talked about that scares me. That I just think, like, dude, you've done everything. Every fight from here on out for him, really, it's about the money. I don't think he needs to prove anything to anyone. I think Dana White said, "Oh, that's nonsense talk about McGregor." That Max said that he was like first in line or at the top of the list for any McGregor fight, but he's saying that the next fight is with Volkanovski again. And I'm not saying I don't want to see it. I would like to see Max fight and win. I thought he won the second fight. The series should be 1-1. But maybe he takes fights with big names, not necessarily something for a title, but just money fights. He's a price fighter.
Yeah, Dustin Poirier's like, yeah,
right, exactly. Get your money and get out. You held the title. You were the king at that division. You're still the king of that division.
Fight. That Dustin Poirier fight. Remember they fought, and that was where the power level was different.
Yeah,
Dustin Poirier mollywhopped Max Holloway.
I mean, he's done that to everybody else. He's done that to quite a few people, right?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, like, you see, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what Max Holloway does to everybody.
Yeah,
he got done in. It was done to him. So there's that's what I'm saying. Like, there's levels, right? Like, it took the 5th round for Max to get cut. Yair had both eyes shut, a forehead. You know what I mean? He was done up, man. So yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look, I don't think you saw this fight. I believe it was. I'm gonna tell you right now. Was it the last fight? It was the last fight in the prelim. Thiago Moises and Joel Alvarez.
I didn't watch that fight. No, I remember you texted me.
Joel Alvarez is he's like 28. He's a lightweight from Spain.
Oh, yeah, I remember him talking.
Monster.
Yeah.
I've seen Thiago Moises fight, and like he's whatever. He's like a top 15 guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not, again, he's not a terrible fighter, but dude, this was a different level. I think this guy. You might see him fighting some of the bigger fights in the next 6 months to a year.
He's a 55er.
He's a lightweight.
He's a 55. I saw
yeah.
his like post match interview where he was saying that like Kamzat gave him some credit and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, man. Look, that's the first Spaniard fighter. I think I can't remember another fighter on the card. So I saw I'll go back and rewatch the fight. I didn't watch that fight because I was still flipping back and forth between the Miami FSU game.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Damn, what was that? There was a Street Fighter character that he reminds me of. Not the Spanish guy, not Vega.
Thiago.
Joel Alvarez. He reminds me of like the tall, like boxer, like I don't know where the dude was
Dawson?
from. Not Dawson.
Dawson.
That's like the dude with but the other was like a tall, muscular, like 6'3" kickboxer. This dude was, it was at a different level. Like he's unranked, but he's gonna be in the top 10, top 15 soon, and he's hopefully gonna be fighting some of the contenders, some of the other contenders out there, because this dude is no joke. He's legit. I'd never seen him fight before, but I just like watching that fight for sure. Yeah, and I'm gonna have to go watch his other fights to see what he's done. But
that's where YouTube is great, bro.
Yeah,
that's where YouTube is fantastic. I didn't care about the undercard fights. It didn't matter. The rest of the fights were. Felicia Spencer destroyed some like Air Force lady. That was an ugly fight.
There's no one in the division, right? It's Amanda Nunes, and then I think that's who she lost to, right? Amanda Nunes. So like,
yeah. Oh, she lost to Cyborg too.
Yeah, but Cyborg's not in the UFC anymore. I think that's really it.
That's really it. Yeah.
No one wants to watch her fight Amanda.
And then Amanda Nunes fights Juliana Pena at the UFC 269 for I think that's the Dustin Poirier fight.
That's the Dustin Poirier fight. Yep.
And I think that might be Leon Edwards and Masvidal were supposed to be on that card.
They're not fighting because Masvidal was injured, or I don't know.
Masvidal got hurt. Yeah, so something's got to happen there. But yeah, they got to put somebody up against Leon Edwards, boring ass fighter.
Well, he's saying he's not fighting. He's saying he's just gonna not fight because he's not gonna take someone on the last minute that could potentially cost him a shot at the title. So whatever. I don't blame him. I don't want to watch him fight anyway.
I don't want to watch him. I'll watch him when Usman fights him. That's about it. I'm not gonna go out of my way. I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch a Leon Edwards fight.
No,
I got nothing else, man. You got something else for the people?
No, man. I'm good. I finished my bourbon, so it's time for me to go.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. We out. Peace. You gonna do your weird peace sign, John?
Peace. How weird. It's a regular peace sign.
No, it's definitely weird.